His eye are fled, the ghoul next door. Hello my Spudguns, and welcome to another edition of Nightblade's Reviews. And today we're talking about the 2007 film, Bram Stoker's Dracula's Guest. And that would be this one right here. So we open with our hero of Bram Stoker vowing to rescue his fiancée Elizabeth, who has been kidnapped by Count Vlad. We are then taken to a flashback to the week before, where Bram Stoker is sword fighting on the beach, what looks like the beach, with his best friend while they argue over Elizabeth. We are then introduced to the Count. He is in London in the offices of Bram Stoker's work. He happens to be a lawyer and a real estate, which I think was one and the same back then. We're taken then to a family gathering where Bram asks Elizabeth's father if he can marry her, and he's refused. So Elizabeth decides to run away. She hops a train which is supposed to take her to London, and this is where she meets the Count, and she ends up taking a ride with him in his private coach and falls asleep. We learn that Elizabeth's father is a vampire hunter, and he knows the Count took her for revenge on himself, because Elizabeth's father has been killing off all of the Count's family. Bram's best friend is then sent by Elizabeth's father to tell Bram and let him in on things, but he ends up getting killed by the Count. Bram unfortunately believes that his friend has committed suicide. It's never 100% clear if the best friend is also a hunter, or if he's just kind of a messenger for Elizabeth's father. Bram then decides he needs to travel to Transylvania to save her. While that's kind of starting or happening, we learn that the Count has not just taken Elizabeth for revenge, but because she's got some immortal blood in her, and it's never exactly explained how, but he's under the assumption that she can get pregnant and carry his bloodline, because apparently there's only a very few people on the planet who can have vampire babies. None of this is explained. Bram is then stuck in France with a crazed mob, and they point out the fact that it is May's Eve to explain some of the craziness that happens while he's stuck in France, which is a pack of zombies chasing him and Dracula's brides, and this crazy mob who we're never really 100% sure why they're a crazy mob, and after him they just kind of are. Now, without any explanation at all, Bram shows up where Elizabeth is being held captive, and I have to say she's not being held captive at the Count's castle. It's some underground cave dungeon thingy, and I don't know how Bram magically finds it, but he magically finds it. So we're now back to the beginning of our opening scene where he's vowing to rescue her. Unbeknownst to all them, Elizabeth's father has also begun the trek to Transylvania to save her. And of course there's a big fight, and it's her father who actually defeats the Count, and then everyone lives happily ever after. There are so many plot holes in this film. Well, let me start with the fact, okay, this is one of those independent films that was shot, I guess, on digital, but it was given that washed out grainy look, and I don't know if that was just so it didn't look like it was digital, or if they were kind of going for an older appearance to make it seem like maybe it was a Hammer film type of style, but it looks bad. It's not a pretty film to look at. The father leaving for Transylvania, what appears to be days after, Bram's got this head start of like 3 or 4 days, I believe. But they seem to arrive in Transylvania within an hour of each other, and that makes zero sense. Just none at all whatsoever. And every time they show up to save her, and again I say I don't know how they magically know where she's being held captive. You would think logically that the Count would take her to his castle, therefore shouldn't they at least try, to look in the castle? But nobody goes to the castle. Nobody even thinks to go to the castle. They just kind of show up in this underground tunnel dungeon thingy, like poof magic or something. And every time they show up to save her, and there's this gate, and they're trying to break the gate open, and she's like, "Oh, there's no use. The gate has to be open from the inside." Well, you'd think if it's got to be open from the inside, wouldn't she have figured out where the key is, or how to get the key, or something, instead of just saying, "Oh, like, I'm trapped in here. Don't bother trying to get me from the outside because the lock is on the inside." Well, if the lock is on the inside, wouldn't she be trying to pick the lock or break the lock or steal the key or something? But she never does. She just kind of allows the Count to have his way with her. And the idea of this hunter Dracula immortal daughter bloodline, we've seen it before in a couple of movies, and I think it was done the best in Dracula 2000. This is pretty much a direct ripoff as far as saying that the hunter's daughter has magical immortal blood stolen or whatever from a vampire, and therefore she is like the select chosen one. There's only one of her. It's been done before, and it's been done better. I was disappointed by this, I have to say. I had never seen this before, and if it wasn't for the fact that it's part of the 4-pack that I own, I probably would have given it away, but it's part of a 4-pack, so I'm going to keep it. But I probably will never watch it ever again. It was not very good. No. It was very disappointing. It says that it's loosely based on the short story Dracula's Guest, but it's not. I've read Dracula's Guest, and I don't remember any plot there being of a woman who, yeah. So, 2007, Dracula's Guest. Not very good. I was very unhappy. Very unhappy. But that's me. Okay, so I'm Art of Blood. Tune in again next time. Tune in often. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave me a comment. Let me know, have you seen this? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Tell me what you think. Until next time, creeping screams.